Hello students, how are you? I hope that all of you are well and good. Today I am going to discuss with you a few important questions from the poem Keeping Quiet. So let's start. Now the first question is read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Now the first question is, how long does the poet wants to stay still? The answer, the poet wants to count up to 12 and stay still during the time we are counting to 12. Now next question, what does he hope to achieve by keeping quiet? Answer, by keeping quiet, the poet hopes that he will be able to live a fascinating moment and then realize the value of calm reflection and quiet introspection. The poet believes that by keeping quiet, we will be able to hear the voice of our conscience in these moments of silence. Now, third question, what does the poet mean by not move our arms so much? Answer, whenever man has used his arms, he has caused undue harm to others. So, the poet uses the phrase not to move our arms so much to emphasize the importance of physical inactivity to lessen destruction caused by man in the world. Now, next question. Question number 2. What is the exotic moment the poet Pablo Neruda wishes for? Answer, Pablo Neruda wishes for that exotic moment when mankind will be free from greed, cruelty, and harmful actions. Unnecessary rush and noise have caused unpleasantness and troubles. The poet wishes the noise of engines and machines should cease and peace and tranquility should prevail. Now, question number 3. Read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. It would he it would the an exotic moment. It would be an exotic moment. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now what does TP refers to? TP refers to that moment of silence and quietness when peace and calmness will prevail. TP here means total peace. Who is the poet speaking to? The poet is addressing mankind the poet is addressing mankind who has no time for quiet introspection in its over hectic busy life. Now third question, what would be the moment like? The moment would be exotic and unusual, a new experience in which mankind will experience a sense of bonding and togetherness with each other. Now, next question number 4. According to the poet, what is it that human beings can learn from nature? Answer, Earth can teach a lesson to mankind on the preservation and resurrection of life and how new life is believed to rise from the ashes of the dead remains. The earth never attains total inactivity. Nature remains at work under apparent stillness and keeps the earth alive. Life never ceases on the earth when everything appears to be dead. Only one thing remains alive, and that is earth itself. Question number 5. Why is Pablo Neruda against total inactivity? Answer. Pablo Neruda is against total inactivity because that would amount to death and he has no association with death. Life is a continuous and ongoing process and so is all about being on the move. Life should not come to a standstill under any circumstances. Now question number 6. Which sadness is Pablo Neruda worried about in his poem? Now answer. The sadness that Pablo Neruda is worried about in his poem is that the sadness of isolation that has made modern man its victim. This sadness has made man self-centered and uncaring to the needs of his fellow men. He has sacrificed the needs of his emotional self in favor of materialism. Now, question number 7. Do you think the poet Pablo Neruda advocates total inequity and death? Why? Why not? Answer. No. The poet Pablo Neruda does not advocate total inactivity and death. He wants to give mankind an opportunity of quiet introspection to know and realize how he has been harming himself and others. He makes it clear that stillness should not be confused with inactivity. Stillness means halting of harmful human activities. He also wants mankind to understand that life is about sprouting out of seemingly dead surrounding. Now next question. What is the sadness that the poet Pablo Neruda refers to in the poem Keeping Quiet? Answer. The sadness that Pablo Neruda is worried about in his poem is the sadness of isolation that has made modern man its victim. This sadness has made man self-centered and uncaring to the needs of his fellow men. He has sacrificed the needs of his emotional self in favor of materialism. Now next question, question number 9. Do you think the poet advocates total inactivity and death in the poem Keeping Quiet? Give reasons. Answer. No, the poet especially says that keeping quiet should not be confused with total inactivity. He wants no association with death. He wants to keep quiet as this will prepare mankind for introspection and regeneration. Question number 10. What is the exotic movement the poet Pablo Neruda wishes for? Answer. Pablo Neruda wishes for that exotic moment when mankind will be free from greed, cruelty and harmful actions. Unnecessary rush and noise have caused unpleasantness and troubles. The poet wishes the noise of engines and machines should cease and peace and tranquility should prevail. Now question number 11. Read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Now question number 1. Why does the poet wants us to keep quiet? The poet wants us to keep quiet because this moment of quietness will give us the time to meditate and introspect upon the kind of turmoil we have created on earth enough. Created earth through our ill actions. Too much activity and rush has only brought misfortune to mankind. So it is better to be quiet and still. Now question number 2. What does he wants to us to do for 1 second? The poet wants us to do nothing and remains inactive for 1 second. Now next question. What does he mean by not move our arms? The phrase, now answer, the phrase not move our arms implies that no physical activity should be carried out for the 1 second. Man has used his arms only to kill and destroy others. Therefore, let him not move his arms to harm others. Now question number 12. How can suspension of activities help? Answer. Suspension of activities will give us time to introspect and reflect on our follies. It will give us the much needed time to forget our differences, wither away our discriminations, and enter into a world of peace. Now, next question. Question number 13. How does stopping for a second help us according to the poet Pablo Neruda? Answer. According to Pablo Neruda, when we stop for a second, we get an opportunity to introspect on our follies. During this moment, we will forget our differences and experience our strength of forget for togetherness, which will give us a moment of bliss. By indulging in such a moment of inactivity, we will realize the harm we are causing to the world with our words and actions. Now, next question. What is the exotic moment referred to in the poem Keeping Quiet? What makes it exotic? Now, answer. When people sit still without speaking any language in quiet introspection, that moment, according to the poet, will be an exotic one, because this moment will help us to experience a strength of togetherness and a strange relationship with which humanity will bind itself. Now, next question, question number 15. Read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. Now the first question is, what does the earth teach us? The earth answer, the earth teaches us how to nurture life under apparent quietude and how to work silently. It teaches us the importance of something taking a break from all activities. Now, next question. What does the poet mean to achieve by counting up to 12? The poet counts up to 12 in an attempt to remain calm and still. He wants to make mankind realize the futility of their mindless words and actions and encourage people to introspect for their own good. Now, next question. What is the significance of keeping quiet? By keeping quiet and calm, man will realize his follies and refrain from harmful destructive activities. It will also help in creating a feeling of natural understanding and introspection among human beings. Now, next question. Read the extract given below and answer the questions that follow. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now, first question is from this stanza. What can earth teach us? The earth can teach us a lesson in protection and resurrection of life. It teaches us that life and living never cease to exist. Now, next question. How can we achieve the state of seems dead? Now, the state of seems dead symbolizes the doomsday when all life of earth will come to an end. Now, next question. Give an example of how the seeming to be dead things become alive. New life emerges from the dead, remains like a seed, gives life to a new plant. Now, next question. What are the different kinds of wars mentioned in the poem? What is Neruda's attitude towards these wars? Answer. The different wars Neruda mentions in the poem are green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire. Neruda feels that these chemicals and nuclear wars and the war that man wages against nature will lead him towards his doom. Now, next question. Which sadness is Pablo Neruda referring to? Answer. The sadness that the poet refers to in the poem Keeping Quiet is the sadness of never understanding oneself and nature. Human beings in a frenzy of activities have no time for introspection and thus threaten themselves with death or destruction. This darkness darkens their ways with distress and wretchedness. Now, next question. Read the an extract given below and answer the question that follow. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for one could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now, first question. Whom does we refer to in the above lines? We in the above lines refer to mankind. Now next, why does the poet want us to do nothing for once? The poet wants us to do nothing for once because during this time of inactivity man will realize the strength of humanity and becomes aware of universal brotherhood wherein he will be able to give mankind a healing touch. The poet wants that for once we should not single-mindedly focus on keeping our lives moving and do some introspection and spend our time in silence doing nothing. This way we can understand ourselves better and escape from the calls of death. Now next question. What is the sadness that the poet referred to in the poem? The sadness that the poet refers to in the poem is the sadness of isolation that has made modern man its victim. The sadness is the selfishness of the modern man due to which he has put his own life and the life of his fellow men in danger. Now next question. Which is the exotic moment that the poet refers to in Keeping Quiet? Answer. Pablo Neruda wishes for that exotic moment when mankind will be free from greed, cruelty, and harmful actions. Unnecessary rush and noise have caused unpleasantness and troubles. The poet wishes the noise of engines and machines should cease and peace and tranquility should prevail. Now, next question. What is the sadness the poet refers to in poem Keeping Quiet? The sadness that the poet refers to in the poem Keeping Quiet is that sadness never understanding oneself and nature. Human beings in a frenzy of activities have no time for introspection and thus threaten themselves with death or destruction. This darkens their ways with distress and wretchedness. Now, next question. How, according to Neruda, can keeping quiet change our attitude to life? Answer. According to Neruda, when people on earth think of keeping quiet for some time, that will be an exotic moment when they will be able to forget their differences and a feeling of brotherhood will prevail among them. Most of the evil thoughts disappear when man becomes silent for a while. By keeping quiet, a man realizes his follies and refrain from harmful and destructive activities. Now, next question. Which images in the poem Keeping Quiet show that the poet condemns violence? Answer. The image is in the poem Keeping Quiet which shows that the poet condemns violence are that he is totally against alienation among communities, races and violence. The poet is against chemical and nuclear wars which leave no survivors. He wants to bring all the destructive activities to a standstill. Now next question. 24. Read the extract from given below and answer the questions that follow. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Which exotic moment is referred to in these lines? The exotic moment referred to in these lines is that moment when everyone keeps quiet and there is no movement. Why would that moment be started? Now this question, next question, why would that moment be strange? Answer, the moment would be strange because there will be no rush or engine and it will bring the whole of humanity together for first time. Now next question, what does the poet advocate in the poem? The poet advocates the need to introspect and think before you act in the poem. Now next question, what does the poet mean by the word engine? Now 4. Answer, by the word engines, the poet means automobiles or machines. Question number 25. Student, there are so many important questions, but I will discuss the questions which actually you feel difficult, or I have already discussed all these questions. I hope so you have all understood the questions, or the another question you will do them yourself. If you find any kind of difficulty, so you can contact me through WhatsApp, through phone call, or through writing in the comment box. So I definitely will, try to redress the problem. So I hope so कि all of you have got the now understood the poem and these question answers, and I hope that the other questions are also similar. So you can do them yourself, है ना? So this is all, है ना? So I hope so कि you have understood. Thank you very much for listening and watching this video, and I hope so in the next video I will bring the another topic for discussion. Thank you very much.